Hello everyone, welcome to Afro Feminista Vegan, a page dedicated to helping you start and sustain a healthy vegan lifestyle. Today, we are going to talk to Aria from California. She is a natural, plant-based vegan. She's a musician, an artist, an environmentalist, and everything in between. We're here to celebrate Afro vegan women. She is incredible, she is amazing, and I cannot wait for y'all to meet her. So in just a few minutes, you'll be introduced to Aria, and we'll be hearing all about her plant-based journey, when she started, where she lives, how she grows her food. Are there misconceptions about her veganism that her family and friends often get messed up? And then how has her creative work, like being a musician, helped her keep going with veganism or inspired her veganism? She will be even giving us a live performance of some of her original music. You don't want to miss this, guys. So definitely stay tuned. If you like having interviews like this with Afro-vegan women, be sure to click the subscribe button below and follow us, of course, on Instagram and Facebook at Afro Feminista Vegan. Thank you so much, and let's get into the interview.
That's all I need. Cool water, swaying food. She does not belong to you. Aqua seas filled with rubbish from humanity. Dying bees, man is extincting so many species. Earth, I know. I love your air, how you care for me. Why can't they see we can't eat money?
Wow. Wow, Aria, that was so beautiful. Wow, very gentle sound, so beautiful.
Thank you.
So
And I did the lyrics, and my daughter Eden did the music. So when we get to that question, I'm going to definitely big her up because she's a gentle soul, and it comes out in her music.
awesome. Wow, so beautiful.
Thank you.
So let's jump into the interview.
All right.
All right, so welcome, Aria, to the Afro Feminista Vegan Feature. I'm so happy that you're here and that you're vegan, doing your thing, and being present with us today. The goal of this is just to hear your story. I'm going to be listening way more. I just want to be interested in you, your story, how you became vegan, and anything you want to share about your vegan journey and your process. So I'll start first thing, but just tell us about yourself. Anything you want, where you're from, what your name is, if you want to share your name again for us, and then when did you officially go plant-based or vegan?
Hi, Topaz. I am so honored to be on your podcast. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, following you on Instagram, and you're always so positive and helpful. So when this came together, I was like, oh, this is really going to be a fun, wonderful interview. And my name is spelled Aria, Aria, Elan, Elan. And on all social media, I'm at Aria Elan, except Facebook, it's Aria Elan Official.
Mm.
And I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina, the county of Charleston, because I was born and raised on my parents' farm. And, it's been quite a journey because I grew up around my mother's family. So I had a huge extended family, and I'm one of six children. And my grand aunt lived with us, and she suffered from diabetes. And I just saw this dis-ease, as our people get older. And it's almost like there was an acceptance that this is inevitable. But I definitely, even at a young age, did not realize the link between, our diet, what we eat, and our health. But as I grew older, I recognized it. And right at around age 13, that's when I made the decision that I was going to go plant-based and stop eating meat. And everybody thought I said, I was going to stop breathing, or stop drinking water or something. It was definitely a shock to everyone, but I just tried to stay the course.
Mm. Wow, in your teens, that's really young. A lot of people don't even know what foods they like when they're a teenager, and you were already ready to just get rid of the meat. What
So I
inspired you?
just wanted to point out, I think because growing up on an actual working farm, we had a lot of cows, hogs,
Mm,
and there's a slaughter season,
mm,
and my mother and people from down south, they would say, "Oh, you're tenderhearted," because even as a little kid, I would get underneath my bed and put my hands over my ears. I can just transport myself back to that now. It was very traumatic for me. And, I think that is what motivated me. It's not like a lot of people who are born and raised in the city and you just have plastic meat. You go to the grocery store and there it is, but when you really connected to the earth and the whole farm life, and you are witness, you're bearing witness to it, then it's right there, right in front of your faces, all your senses.
wow. You know what? You made such a great point. For those people that are born on farms, I feel like they really have an intimate connection with slaughter. And it's so amazing that at a young age you were already like, mm-mm, I'm not into that slaughter life. I don't enjoy it, and that's really powerful. So, would you say that that was the original purpose of your pursuit to go plant-based, vegan, or get rid of meat? Was it because of all the slaughterhouses and sort of your experience with slaughtering on your family's farm, or were there other reasons as well that started you off early?
I think at an early age, that was the primary factor for me. I call it the Bambi factor, and where you just really think, my siblings and some other people say, "Oh, you're humanizing them." They don't feel, but I'm going, and we had always had pets. If we had, but dogs. They're not like house dogs where people they actually have to guard and they hunt. Because
Mhm.
the men in my family, not all of them, but a lot of them, they hunted deer, raccoon, and all of this. So, but still, we had them when they're puppies. They're all cute, and I mean, I would ask them, "Would you ever think of eating fluffy?" You know, oh no, that's different. That's different.
Mm.
But to me, I just saw the connection. I saw the connection at an early age. And then I love to read. So at an early age in elementary school, I knew that in India, for instance, with Hindu and, their religious beliefs in terms of cows, they would use the milk and make cheese and other products, but they wouldn't eat the actual flesh. So when you
Mm.
start reading, even before you're old enough to travel, you can still travel through books.
Wow, you're making such a great point, is that most of us have a distinction between pets and food. And what you just told me was that in your brain, you're like, what's the difference? Fluffy and the cow on the farm, should we be eating them either way? And that's what I think trips up a lot of vegans. They see their pet Fluffy and they don't see that as the same issue with food. They see if a cow is totally different, has no emotions, deserves to be eaten versus their pet, which is a little more, has more emotions, is more familiarized with humans and doesn't deserve to be eaten. That's very interesting. So it makes me wonder, would you say, and I don't want to put you in a box, so tell me if this is boxes you don't want to be put into. Would you say you're more of a health vegan, an animal rights vegan, an environmental vegan, or a totally different vegan?
Well, I definitely think the first two, for the health. I'm also into exercise. I believe our bodies are our temple, and it's important, of what you put into. Matter of fact, this is my energy drink, water.
Yes, the original energy drink.
There you go. So when you think in terms of health and then the environment, because those corporate animal farms, they release so much CO2 into the atmosphere. It's just incredible, it's just crazy. So, and then either I go a step further because I'm into organic. I have an organic garden,
Mm.
and I've been doing organic gardening for years because Monsanto and all of those companies, those corporate agricultural farms use so much poisons, pesticides, and that stuff, especially certain things. Like I checked out your post on Facebook and you were asking which one has to go, and you put like a watermelon, bananas, strawberries, and immediately I'm here in Southern California, which is probably like the number one producer of strawberries in America. And I'm telling you, there are vats of all of these poisons. And I feel so sorry for the farm workers. A lot of them are immigrants and they're vilified, but
Mm.
these people are working and that stuff gets in there causing birth defects, miscarriages, all kinds of negative vibes. And, that's one of the reasons, going back to your question, I believe that for like a healthy body, healthy planet, it's all one. We're all one. That we definitely need to really be conscious, of how we are producing our food, what we are eating. It just makes a huge difference.
Wow. I love what you said because it's so true. So much of the produce that we consume in this country are at the hands of immigrants who really go through a lot of the environmental justice issues with regards to food. And I love that you have taken your own responsibility to grow your own food in your own property and sort of take that middle piece of injustice out of the equation. And I feel like that's where a lot of us really should go. I would say a lot of vegans may not know that immigration is a part of the vegan process too. I think a lot of us see environment, we see animal rights, we see health, but we don't always see that even buying tomatoes in some states is a justice issue. And depending on where you buy them, maybe the people that made that tomato and grew it and picked it and harvested it for us didn't really get the right side of justice. So I appreciate that. And I love that gardening is a solution to sort of reducing more harm to human beings through veganism too.
You have definitely hit on such great points because, I'm in contact with people. I've been an environmental activist for many years. And, there's so few people in that movement who want to accept the intersectionality, which is what you were talking about. It's all connected. We are all connected.
Mm.
Until I tell them we're never going to solve the problem as long as you're coming at it with a racist attitude where you don't want to accept women or Africans, people of color into the leadership. I'm not just talking about the grunt work where, you are the chief and you make the decisions and then you tell me what to do. Or you want, because Greta, the young girl who started the climate strike, exactly. She posted about the intersectionality, and that environmental racism and how it affects poor people and people of color, which a lot of times are the same, around the world, and so many people, just made such negative, hateful comments saying some adult or somebody told her to say that. And I'm like, oh, so you're going to be just like the right-wing Fox News people who are saying somebody told her to do what she was doing in terms of climate. So, no, nobody, you're accepting that came from her, that nobody told her by herself, an outcast, as a student, to sit in front of the school boycotting with a sign. Nobody told her to do that, but somebody told her to talk about mass incarceration of Black people, to talk about environmental racism, to talk about dumps and toxic waste being placed in peoples of color and poor people's communities. I really, really admire that young girl, because a young woman, because she is autistic, and a lot of people see that as a disease. I don't. Brains are wired differently, and she's able to hone in on things and to say things that a lot of us don't want to say. Oh, we don't want to be impolite. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. No, they just see something and they're going to say it.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg is such an incredible young woman, and I am so glad that she was able to speak out. There's a lot of people, lots of indigenous people of color, Black people, Asian folks too, that have spoken out about environmental topics too, but they didn't get as much airtime, so to speak. But I think as long as somebody is saying it, that's really the important thing, is that we get the message out. And if that has to come in the package of Greta Thunberg, I'm happy to get that out. But more than anything, I think what she's standing for is that unspoken voice, that that we can do something about environmentalism just with diet alone. We save thousands of trees a year. We save thousands of animals from being slaughtered. CO2 gets removed. We don't even have to release it into the atmosphere when we're not doing agricultural work or trucking around big things of steak to grocery stores. There's so much environmental good that we can do just by going vegan. And I think a lot of people have a misconception about that. They think it's kind of bougie. Vegans don't always value justice. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. I'm curious if you could talk about some misconceptions that you've heard or experienced about being vegan or plant-based that people have all wrong. Some misconceptions that you can speak to.
Oh, certainly. Just as an aside, real quick, I was laughing at what you were saying in terms of why Greta. Well, we know that it's because she is a young white teenager, from what is it, Sweden or someplace in Europe, whereas other people of color, indigenous people, have been on the front lines of this, for centuries. But of course, we're not. I just find it humorous because you get a chance, you have a choice, like my song Smile says, we have a choice to smile or frown. The situation is going to be here, but it's just the power we have is how we deal with it, how we process it. So going back to your question about misconception, one of the things that I hear all the time, and I know you've heard this, protein, 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 where do you get your protein? And I'm like, come on, there's so much delicious plant-based protein, because like you, I'm a vegan chef. I love cooking and just transposing, I'm using like a musical term, but taking like a meat recipe and making it vegan and making it delicious. Another thing that I love from following you, and I'm gonna get back to that question, you're always talking about, natural whole foods, sweet potatoes. I love that, greenery, salads, all these type of things instead of fake chicken, fake the process. Things you read all the ingredients and it's like 50 different ingredients that you can't process. And a lot of times you find vegans and, they are eating mostly this processed food and not a lot of the others. So just to clarify, you have this brother from Jamaica. If you guys just go on YouTube, and it's called What I Eat. And he made a whole song, like a reggae song.
I've seen those videos. It's
It's so cool.
funny.
It's funny, but it's so real. There's like tons of stuff. Peas, uh, beans, there's all kinds of vegetables, I mean, eggplant. This the list is so long of delicious food that not only has protein, but it has all kinds of vitamins and just the right mix. Okay, because it's natural. It's not like some type of GMO, where humans are gonna get into the modification of it. And even with my organic gardening, I make sure I have organic seeds and then I can save them. Like one of the things that I did this morning, like early, I went into my garden and I picked some stuff, bagged it up and took it to friends, two friends. One of them is elderly and, she's not 100%. She's like half sick. And then the other one is a couple. They're so sweet, and that is part of the joy too, of giving. The second misconception, and I guess it goes along with the first, is when people think that you're unhealthy if you're a vegan, and that I can only be like a shining light. I don't even debate people when it comes to that. That's like debating religion. All I can say is, you do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing, and if you think I'm not taking any type of meds, thank God. And I do believe that it's my lifestyle. The plant-based lifestyle combined with daily exercise. I mean, that's the ticket. It sounds so simple.
It's so amazing how easy you've summed it up. That protein thing, anyways, I'm just like so bored with that argument because I'm like, it's just not true. But primarily the whole thing that vegans are unhealthy, I think that's the most hilarious thing. It's the opposite. And as we've seen, and you've probably seen with your own personal experience, and we've seen with research and lots of other vegans, actually some of us improve in health when we get rid of dairy, when we get rid of meat, when we get rid of processed foods. And so jumping back to your previous point about vegans eating fake meats, that's where I really wanted to advocate on my Instagram and Facebook and on YouTube here, that plant-based foods are always going to be better than the fake soy. And even some scientific studies have shown that the fake soy causes just as much harm physically to your body as some meats and dairies do. And so, you might think, oh, I'm eating a fake meat, I'm being a good vegan. And actually, good vegans really ought to think about whole plant-based and organic foods if they can afford it or if they can grow it. And so I'm with you on that. And I will never advocate for fake food on this channel. I really want to make sure people know that food is medicine.
You just segued into the other thing in terms of affordability. It's that you have to have money. You have to be rolling in it. And I'm going, again, that's just the opposite. I remember when I was a student, when I first moved from South Carolina, to LA, and I was living in Santa Monica, which is a beach community, so I was about maybe 6 blocks of walking. I didn't have wheels, I didn't have a car, so it was just left and right, left foot, right foot. but I could walk to the health food store, about maybe 5 blocks from the little studio apartment that I lived in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, I couldn't even hardly carry the things, the food that I would get, and I didn't have a lot of money at all because I was going to school full time and just working a part-time job, or sometimes I'd have 2 part-time jobs, because I always braided on the side. And it's just such a myth because I traveled to Africa. I've traveled to West Africa as well as North Africa, and they're very much plant-based. You will have even the people who raise goats or eat meat, or seafood or whatever. The majority of what they're eating is they're growing, and it's not expensive. The expensive stuff is if you pay, I haven't bought it, but I'm sure I've seen it. You go to the grocery store, a steak is what, $10 or $12 or whatever. You go to Whole Foods, a salmon is like $20, $30, crazy.
Yeah.
None of the vegetables, even when you get organic, you will find stuff that's like $3, $4 a pound. There's I can't think of anything, that would be that expensive as what people pay for meat.
Wow.
But that's just a myth. That's total myth.
I am just smiling because you and I are like one person right now. You just read my mind. I was thinking that a lot of West African cuisine is plant based. People do not know that. A lot of people of color worldwide have been eating plant based for centuries. And
Yes.
for some reason, because some of us are transplants to the USA, we're eating sort of a Western Europe kind of diet. I feel like part of that is why so many of us are sick. I think 75% of the world is lactose intolerant, which includes Black people. Most
Yeah.
people of color on the planet cannot process animal products at all. We're sick or we get gas or something. So we're actually eating a diet that's so far from our ancestors' diet that it's actually making us sick. And I've had some moments where I'm like, if we ate more like Western Africans, which most of us, most Black Americans have that genetic pool, would we be this sick if we were eating jollof rice and even certain vegetables, okra on a regular everyday basis? If we ate like our ancestors did, would we really be this sick?
Oh,
And
you made
that's a,
just such a fantastic point, and it's just so delicious. When
mm,
I went over there, I just was transported back to home because that's the kind of food that we grew. We had a lot of okra, and then, they made like a stew, where they would take the peanuts, they call theirs brown nuts, and we would have our peanuts, but the recipes were the same. The only thing is because of the slavery and the slave food and eating that salty fatback and corn, that was the diet. But even then, if people could, they had their own little patch of garden where they had collard greens or they ate dandelions, which grow
mhm.
wild. We supplemented it. But I'm telling you, that slave food is definitely causing a lot of disease because it's so high in salt and all of that pork, and like you said, the the mac and cheese and all of this. And I know it's psychological because people think of this stuff and they think back on Christmases and Easter dinners and Thanksgivings and all of that. And it's associated with family, and friends, but you can
Mhm.
still have those kinds, you can create those kinds of memories by tweaking the recipes, and I don't call my stuff, like people will have cauliflower and they say orange chicken, you know? No, because people's expectations are up there then. They're expecting something to taste like chicken, you know?
Mm.
I will call mine cauliflower, you know,
Call it.
and then what it is, and then when they're eating it, they have more like of an open mind, and it touches and enters their palate, and they're like, this is really delicious. Yeah, as opposed to when you're setting them up, like vegan fried chicken or whatever,
Mm,
because it tastes nothing like that. It tastes nothing like that, and I don't want it to taste like that.
mm.
Want them to experience something like totally different from what they're used to, and just have an open mind. And I tell them, it's like, I'm not your mom. I'm not going to tell you you can't leave the table until you finish everything. No,
Mm.
you can, but just try it.
Yes. You know what? You made such a good point about the association between soul food and family. And I almost think that's what keeps so many people of color trapped into soul food. Not only is it delicious and highly addictive, but it does make you feel like, oh, my mom made me cornbread, and my aunt's mac and cheese is so good. And you sort of have this memory. But as a vegan chef, as a fellow vegan chef, if you can tweak that recipe and give a similar experience to macaroni and cheese and cornbread and sweet potatoes, and you can just sort of make it vegan, it can still have that association without all the health issues. And so, as a vegan chef, I've created lots of ebooks with soul food recipes, and I want to make more because apparently, a lot of us want to have that cultural connection with soul food, even though it has its bad history on how we got to that place. Still, so many people have that emotional connection, and that's what's standing in the way between them going vegan and them prioritizing their health. It's that memory of family, and so I personally want to know if there was a point where you really love soul food, and if so, has getting rid of all that soul food and all that unhealthy animal products, has that improved your health in any way? And if you could sort of speak to if you like soul food, and then also how did it feel for you to get rid of animal products? What physically happened for you, mentally, physically, whatever you want to share?
Okay. Well, I mean, my mother was a chef. So our whole family would, and my father was a Baptist um, pastor, for years until he retired. So our family gravitated towards food, that brought us together, and we had to all sit down at the table, and then say grace and then eat. So yeah, I have like really, really fond memories, of some of the many of the dishes, that she made. But I never was like a big eater, in terms of just the amount of food. I would eat small amounts just naturally. It's just who I was as growing up as a kid. I eat a lot more now because I'm working out,
Mm-hmm.
and when you work out, you can eat more food. But one of the things that I just love, and again, going back to my travels to West Africa and North Africa, is the African dishes that she made that were in our family from that Charleston area, because we combine cuisines from Africa, from Native Americans, and the French are the ones that colonized that area first. You see
Mm-hmm.
but our people are the ones who actually built everything. So they're doing a African American museum in Charleston now, and I said that's all well and good, but we didn't even need it because you just walk down the streets and you're seeing the museum. You're seeing the intricate wrought iron fence. That's African American history. You're seeing the houses on the Battery, which is right there in the Atlantic Ocean. Those big mansions. That's African American history. So when my mother, okra soup is a big thing. Down there, especially the summer, because okra grows like grass. You have to cut it literally every morning, once it starts, because they'll get hard, the
Mm-hmm.
pop. So and then she grew the cayenne peppers, and that's a big thing over there. Their food is very spicy, too, and the rice, which in Senegal, where I stayed for a while, this where a lot of our people came from. Matter of fact, people don't know the Spaniards brought, before even the British, the first enslaved Africans to that Charleston area, and they escaped and they went to live with the Native Americans. So you don't get that in the history books, but that's part of our history. So it was easy for me to tweak and remake those kinds of recipes because you have the okra, the fresh tomatoes, the bell peppers, the celery, and all that. All I had to do was to leave out the pork, and instead I put the different herbs. People, if you just you don't even have to have a yard. I'm blessed with, backyard and the front yard. And even way long ago, matter of fact, some neighbor or somebody had reported me because I guess it's against the code in your front yard. But it just went away. They didn't really, I'm like, what are they going to do? Give you, like, send you to jail or give you a ticket for growing, food. You can grow roses, but you can't grow food, Yeah, so when you do that and just leave out the pork and instead put in like extra virgin organic olive oil, and that's your oil, that's flavor, which is a whole like Mediterranean thing, and you look at their diets and how much healthier they are. And then you put in like the fresh oregano, fresh thyme, these kinds of herbs, fresh basil. You have tons of flavor without the pork. And that's the thing of just getting people to try it. And then the same thing with it made me think in terms of time, like something like collard greens, they would be cooked up in the pork until the collard greens, the whole texture would be gone. It would be all boiled up, or the okra. People are like, oh, I don't eat okra because it's slimy. And I'm like, mine is not like that because it's like a high heat and then, like a stir fried. So it still has that like crispiness without being fried because I'm moving fast. I have all my prep stuff and then I'm whipping it up and I've already cooked my rice, the brown rice or black rice or something like that. So you can just put it on there. Just making me hungry right now.
I know. I'm drooling over here. I'm like,
yes.
Tell me more.
So that's how you transform those recipes. Leave out the meat and bring in the flavor with the extra virgin olive oil and the herbs. And you can grow herbs in a windowsill, a patio, a porch.
Yeah. Anywhere. I'm going to start my garden very soon. My mom told me wait till after Mother's Day. I can't tell if she's telling me that to, give me my gift first and then go garden, or if she really is like after Mother's Day, it'll be better. I'm in Colorado, so the weather's a little different here. We have to be a little more specific. But windowsill garden, I'm on it. I'm on it.
Yeah, start it inside. And then when you're past, because you guys get snow there.
Oh, until May 1st sometimes.
Yeah. So then when all of that, the snow and the frost and all of that is behind you, then it's already come up some, in the little pots. And then you can put it on a porch or a patio or something, and you can plant it into a bigger pot and just make sure that you have some really good soil, get some organic soil. That is going to be the best because then you don't have to think in terms of these synthetic fertilizers because all of the stuff is in there. The soil itself is rich.
So would you say how much of the food you eat on a regular basis comes from your garden or comes from a local food shop? I mean, I guess maybe the bigger question is where do you get your food from and how would you describe your food access? Where do you tend to like to get it from?
Oh, I would say it's 70-30. About 70% of what we eat comes from my organic garden because I have like, you know, orange tree, olive tree, apples. I just put it all. I had, when I first got this place, I just had, the tree cutter people cut down these ornamental trees. We call it stump it, like all the way, like cut it all the way down. And then I planted food trees,
Mm-hmm.
things that are going to pay for itself, like year in and year out. And then I'll have like a summer garden, a winter garden, and you have to rotate. What's the name of the scientist, the black scientist who was into the peanuts? Um,
Was that uh,
Carver, right?
Carver?
Yes, and he was one of the first, which Africans knew this, but over here, because, again, these plantation style gardening, farming was to plant the same thing year in and year out, and you just destroy the soil. You have to rotate and let things grow fallow, meaning just leave it alone, leave
Yeah.
it alone, and then the earthworms and the good microorganisms will come back. So then, okay, so about 70% comes from what I grow. And then the other 30%, I would get from the store. And, just I buy organic,
Mm-hmm.
because I really know um, the difference. I guess being out here in Southern California, I mean, you just know it is bad. I'm telling you, they have vats and sprays, and they even have like the attorneys who represented the farm workers, because they had so many negative things, to happen to them,
Mm-hmm.
from touching that stuff and breathing it in. So yeah, I'll get stuff like, I'm Geechee Gullah. That's what we call ourselves from that Charleston area.
Uh-huh. I've
And
heard of y'all. Yeah.
yes, they
Okay.
have it all the way down to Florida.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they have the culture. And we love rice. So I definitely buy that. But even things like I have in my garden, sweet potatoes, different varieties. Matter of fact, I'm gonna post and I will tag you in a picture, like right on my counter. I found a purple Hawaiian sweet potato, and
Mm-hmm.
I just put it in water, like a mason jar half full of water. And after about, I guess it's been about 2 months now, it has the beautiful, leaves and stalk that comes out. And each one of those, just pop off and put it in the ground, and that will grow like each leaf. It'll just be tons of potatoes, grow
Mm-hmm.
that from one, so I will get things like say rice and certain type of beans. I would keep dry beans and lentils and things like that that I don't grow. But right now I have real young green beans that are in my garden, but those are summer crops. So they wouldn't come about until, probably July, and
Wow.
then they're all at once, so that's why I just give them away, to friends,
Yeah.
because the harvest is just right there. I'm going, wow, why couldn't it be, like 2 or 3 months?
In phases.
No, they're all ready at the same time.
Yeah. Wow, Aria, you are dropping so much knowledge because for some vegans like me, we love plant-based foods, but we're not, we don't have that much of a green thumb. Like we're working on it, but we're not like experienced. I would love if on your Instagram, your Facebook, or whatever you like to use, if you could start showing people how to get that garden together. I feel like that's a really valuable skill that a lot of Black vegans really want to know about. We just maybe don't know how to start. So
That's such a
that's
great
amazing.
idea, because I'm going to give a plug to this brother in South Central LA. Ron Finley. Calls himself the Gangster Gardner, and he's on IG, with a lot of followers. And contact him and say, well, I want to meet. And he's like, well, bring a shovel, because if you meet him, then that means that you're going to be working in the garden. And that is a great idea because he's always posting, you know, videos and just clips of just showing, because everybody can have a green thumb. People are like, oh, you have such a green thumb. It's just simple things that you have to know, but it may seem simple to me because I'm from a farm, but I definitely would be able to just have fun with people and show them the basics. And then once you have the basics, it's the same way with cooking. You use a recipe and you're getting comfortable with it. But once you have that, like in Charleston, we said we cook by feel. And there aren't any cookbooks. These are all passed down where you want to learn how to make biscuits, well, you watch, your auntie, or you watch your mother. You want to learn how to make okra soup, you watch. So those videos, I'm sure, would just be a lot of fun and informative. I will do that.
Thank you for dropping him. I'm going to go find him because we need more Black gardeners. I think a lot of us are learning to rewild ourselves, so to speak. We're learning to grow our own food. We're learning to go back to the earth to get our resources instead of depending on grocery stores to sell pesticide-full foods and processed foods and so on and so forth. So I think we definitely need more resources like that person, gardeners like you, just to kind of break it down for us. And so one thing I really am grateful for is that my mother's a gardener, and she taught me so much about how easy it is to garden. And I think, like you said, it's a skill. I don't think you're born, a good gardener or not. I think you can develop it. And my mom taught me a lot. I'm still not as good as her because she's been doing it for 40 plus years, but maybe 50 plus years, but she's much better than me, but I'm learning. And so that's one thing I wish I knew before is, hey, how do I grow my own food? I wish I learned that when I was a baby like you, just watching and observing. What is something that you wish you knew before that you now know as a seasoned plant-based vegan person?
That is such a great, great question. And I'm going to answer it in 1 minute. One more plug for the brother Ron. He is there in South Central, and people who are not from LA, that's the hood. And one of the things, that's why he calls himself the Gangster Gardner, is it was like a terrible, these vacant lots where people are like using drugs, throwing stuff out there, cans, a lot of trash. And he and a couple of other people, or they cleaned all that up. And I mean, they transformed it into an oasis. So it doesn't matter where you are. You get to say, oh, Aria's in the suburbs, or Sister Topaz is in this place. No, yeah, I mean, you could say that, and that's a fact, but just because where you are may not seem like it has that capability, if you can envision it, then you can bring it into reality, into fruition. So I would say that looking back, if I had the confidence that I have now, like being married to a carnivore, I really felt, and in love with my husband, I really felt that it was my duty and my, like that I have to prepare meat, for him, even though it was like not something that I wanted to do. But I think that, matter of fact, I know the person I am now would be like, dude, if you want to eat that, go do it, but I'm not going to cook it. But a lot of times when you're young and all in love and stuff, you just figure, okay, I can't say that even though I'm feeling this, or even though I feel this is really not something I want to do, I'm going to do it. And it's a difference between things. It's not just black and white, because some things like that may be important to you, like keeping a clean house, and it's not important to your mate. To me, that may not even be enough to have negative vibes in an argument.
Mhm.
Just go ahead and pick it up and wash it, because that's something that I like doing.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna argue with you over washing the dishes when I'll just do it. But when it
Mhm.
comes to something like that, I know the me today that I'm not going to do it. That would
Mhm.
actually be a deal breaker. So that's one of
Wow.
the things that I really wish that I could have told the
Mhm.
younger me, like, you don't have to just do this because of this, like the roles that we have. You're
Uh-huh.
the wife, so that's your duty.
Yeah, you know what? That is so important. I'm not married, but I am in a relationship with an omnivore. He's not straight carnivore, but he does like his meat, his cheese, his eggs, things like that from time to time. And one thing I noticed is that he's asked me to cook chicken a couple times, and I'm sure he wished he didn't ask me because I didn't cook it right. And I feel like that's because I'm so out of touch with cooking animal products. I don't even know what's safe or not anymore.
And you
Actually,
can't taste it.
and I can't taste it. So it's for his safety that I don't cook animal products, actually. So he's just like, all right, I'm going to cook my own chicken then. And I'm like, that's probably good. Or I'm going to cook my own fish. And so at this point, we've learned to be in a relationship together by us having a main plant-based meal, a main vegan meal, and he'll have his cheese on the side and he'll have his eggs or his fish or whatever on the side, and just don't offer it to me. And it's fine. We had a great
Yes.
pasta for lunch today with lots of veggies and flavor, and he made a big thing of pasta for me and him to share. We ate it, and he had his little eggs on the side, and it was fine. So
Right.
I
Exactly.
I think lots of vegans don't realize that they don't have to cook the meat for their person. I know there's that social pressure if you're married and you have a partnership that you should, but I think there's a lot of couples like with my partner that we don't feel the need to have to cook animal products together all the time. And so I think that's a really healthy thing that I wish, more vegans knew that they don't have to if they don't want to. Um, so let's round it on out. And I want to ask you just a couple more questions. One is, if you could speak to another woman of color, it could be your inner woman of color, it could be a friend or a young woman that you know in your life, and just give her some advice on how to just go plant-based or start that process. What advice would you give her just based on your experience and your knowledge and how you got started and everything?
Well, I would say that my whole my music has always been a part of my life, and to connect music with social issues, I feel that I have reached and am still reaching people all over the world who may never have even thought of, you know, any type of vegan issue or any type of earth justice issue. But because they might like a song or like me, they would actually experiment. So my advice would be to try it, and to don't knock yourself if you fall off the wagon. If you, then you, oh well, I can't do it. Or if you have somebody who's close to you, your family or your friends who are criticizing. In
Mm,
my song Smile, the lyrics are, family criticize me, I criticize you. I'm sorry. I ignore them. Can't let them make me blue.
mm,
And
mm,
that's what you have to learn, is to be around family and friends, and they're entitled to their opinion. But this is your life, and if you want to live a healthier, more ethical life, and to be in line, with your uh, inner spirits, and to have inner peace, then I really, really encourage people to try it and to read and to watch videos on the subject and, to just experiment because you will find that just this is one sister that I follow on Instagram, and she features other sisters. And I have seen transformations that have been phenomenal. People who have struggled with yo-yo diets, all of their lives. So I've always been, like I said, more, especially when I was young, just real skinny. Then as I grew older, it kind of evens out. But I know people who have struggled with it, and they become vegans. I mean, like healthy vegans, not with a lot of this processed stuff. And then they do like you are doing yoga, they're doing some type of exercise, even it's just walking. People who never even walk, they just work, and come home, do their thing and watch TV or videos or social media. But when they incorporate that, their skin, their eyes, their hair, their weight loss, all of this, and it's not coming back because what do we call it? That's the plant-based lifestyle. It's not just some diet that you're miserable on. It's part of your whole philosophy of life, and that makes a difference. So I would tell them to just try it.
You know what? I love what you said. I agree. Find someone that inspires you. Find something that inspires you to go vegan. For me, it was my own health journey. I had a lot of issues with my health that I can get into in a different video, in a different conversation. But one of the people that inspired me was my friend. She is from Ethiopia. And I didn't realize that Ethiopian food is so vegan friendly. That's a whole historical culinary thing. But because I saw her and she was vegan, she was curvy. She was not, she didn't look hungry. She didn't look like she was protein deficient, nothing. She was curvy, healthy, beautiful. Her skin was glowing. And I was like, I want to be like her. And so sometimes I think being in community can really help us be like, oh, she's a Black vegan, I'm a Black vegan, and I want to try this lifestyle. So I totally agree. Find someone that speaks to you. And for those that don't know, Aria is a musician, and I will be sure to include some of her music into this video. So don't click out too fast. Her beautiful voice will wow you, and I'll be including some of her music into this video. And
Thank you.
I love that. And maybe we'll round it out and say, what is your future plant-based journey look like? Where do you want to take yourself in the future, or do you want to just keep continuing what you're doing because it's not broken? Where do you see yourself in the future as a plant-based person?
I want to just keep flowing, because it's like we're living in a cesspool. I'm telling you, I mean, there's a lot of just bad news. There's no shortage of that. But I'm here to tell people the good news. And the good news is that you can walk outside and you can see something green. You can hear a bird sing, you can have like, even if it's like in that theatrical production where they were staying in an apartment in Chicago. Sidney Poitier played in there, and then the mother only had like one little straggly plant. I mean, it seems almost funny, but that was her connection. That was her like wish, her dream thing. She dreamed, and then she was able to. She visualized it, then she was able to actualize it. And I'm also a motivational speaker, and I love speaking to youth. I've spoken at California Youth Authority, which is a euphemism for kids jail, and I've spoken, to foster girls, foster youth, young teenagers, and I'm always encouraging them, and trying to be like a mentor. I cannot do but so much. I'm only one person, but I really, really want them to know that somebody believes in them and that they can actually achieve their dreams, even though there's challenges and obstacles. They just have to stay focused. You may find other people over here who are getting high, who are doing whatever,
Yeah.
but if you can stay focused on your dreams. When I was growing up in the country in South Carolina, I had one of those maps on my wall in my bedroom. Then I had thumbtacks, like the world map and stuff. And I had thumbtacks over places that I wanted to go. Now that might have seemed totally unrealistic for a young Black girl, on a farm in the racist South, South Carolina. But I was able to do it. Not all of them, but I was able to travel to many of those places, because I really saw it. Just the visualization. I saw it in my mind. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I knew it was going to happen. I had faith. And then the way I was raised is that you need not only faith, but you need works.
Yeah.
Faith without works is not going to accomplish hardly anything. That you got to get out there and hit it and sacrifice. When, a lot of people, your family or friends may be doing, X, Y, and Z, then if you are sacrificing for right now, then you're able to bring that reality and your dreams, into the actualization, into reality.
Wow. And I love that. And I have to say, a lot of the things I've wanted to do have come from that visualization place that you've said. And you're totally right. If you can visualize it, put in a plan, put in the work, you can really do it. You can really do it. So
Yes.
thank you for that beautiful lesson of encouragement for all of us that want to try something new and grow and just do it. Where can people find you on the internet, Aria?
They can find me at ariaelan.com, ARIAELAN.com. That's my website. And then on Twitter and on Instagram, just Aria Elan, and YouTube. I have a YouTube channel with all of my music and vegan cooking videos. So that is ARIAELAN. And then Facebook is Aria Elan Official. And then I actually respond myself. You're not going to hear from an assistant or some type of robot, it's going to be me.
Yes. People, if you are not subscribed to Aria's Instagram and YouTube and Twitter, I don't know what you're doing. She is so inspirational, dropping so much knowledge for us. And I am so grateful you came on the YouTube with us today. I want to thank you so much and subscribe to Aria's website, her YouTube, everything. So thank you so much again, Aria, and happy to have you.
Thank you and enjoy this lovely day.
I will. Thank you.